You ever had one of those conversations that, well, it started out as a civil conversation, a comment about the way something was cooked or the way something was cleaned or something not put away or the paperwork not done on time, or maybe a civil conversation about the failure to use that little blinky thing in your car that says, hey, I'm going to turn that way or I'm going to turn that way. Starts off as a civil conversation. But it only takes 1 or 2 seconds to escalate and explode into something entirely different when the first person in that conversation raises their voice. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I've always had a voice that carries. I've always had a voice that projects. All the way back to 6 or 7 years old, I remember my mom telling me, shh, talk quieter. And I felt like I was whispering already. I've had people most of my life telling me, tone it down a little bit. You're just a little too intense. And I've lived most of my life feeling like Dash on The Incredibles, where I can't really run all full force. I can't run all out because it's just too much. But I have learned over the recent years that because my voice carries, I have to intentionally tone it back a little bit for people to feel like we're having a normal conversation. And heaven forbid I get passionate about whatever it is that we're talking about, because not only will my voice get louder, but I will begin to speak faster as well. Because I have a whole lot of thoughts going on in my head when it's something I'm passionate about, and when I talk fast enough to keep up with my thoughts. Most people can't keep up. There are a few. I call it iron sharpening iron when I chat with them on the phone or we get a chance to have coffee and we go way off of the norm of conversation and talk about pretty deep stuff. And we talk fast and we talk loud and we talk passionate because we understand and we track at that speed. But see, that's not for everyone. And for most people, that feels like browbeating because you have so many ideas and so much knowledge for them. Leaders tend to do this because leaders generally are very passionate people. Leaders generally are very active people. Leaders are not passive people. Some are. There are some introverts who are phenomenal leaders. But generally speaking, those who are seen as leaders are boisterous. They're type A. They're out front. They have new ideas, 15,000 new ideas a day. And so they're always moving at a hectic pace. And for anyone who comes alongside them or supports them or does work with them, they feel like they've been thrown into the fire to deal with a leader who's type A, loud, fast, a fast thinker, a fast communicator, a fast talker, because they feel like they're being hustled. Well, it's not always the case. But it is always the case that our human psychology says that when someone speaks to us louder, when someone speaks to us with more passion, with more fervor, with more intensity, that we either will rise to the occasion and speak at the same pace and the same volume, or we will completely shut down. Very few people have the ability to maintain a conversation when the communication style and level is so drastically different. One person talking really fast or really loud and really fast because they're very passionate and they have a new idea every second and a half and they have to get them all out and they don't want to leave the conversation unless you've heard everything. And others who feel like, wow, they're dominating the conversation and I'm just going to listen. Very few people can maintain that conversation without just falling off the side and going, you're too much for me to talk to. You don't want to hear my ideas. My encouragement to you as a leader is to allow that mirror neuron in you that is looking at the pace and the body position and the tone of voice of the other person. And if you can't match them, force yourself to come a little bit below them so that the person you're communicating with feels like they have the upper hand. They have the louder voice. They have the greater staccato. They have the more passion in their voice so that you don't feel like you're pounding them down, and neither do they. If you're the leader, You can set yourself aside for a moment and allow them to fully express themselves. It works great with babies. Scream at a screaming baby, you're going to get a louder screaming baby. But if you whisper to a screaming baby, chances are your tone will bring theirs to a more mellow tone. Scream at somebody in traffic, they're probably going to scream back at you. But your kindness, your gentleness, your grace, your mercy, found in your tone of voice, could change everything in the way you lead others. That's my challenge for you today. Watch your tone of voice and the words you choose in conversation today. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast on Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.